Welcome to this course about building a resilient team. In this course, we're going to go over a wide range of techniques to do this, from tools to help you navigate stress, handle setbacks, and gain or regain the momentum during challenging times. And we will illustrate this by looking at approaches that are being used by people that are under extreme pressure and have to find solutions in challenging situations. So without further ado, let's move forward. So what is resilience? Resilience is more than just bouncing back. It's also about moving forward despite facing adversity. And for teams, this can involve a collective strength, adapting to changes and overcoming challenges together. In a highly and rapidly changing environment, resilience is more important than ever. And your team should be able to have these problem-solving skills and be able to work under extremely difficult situations, as this will result in long-term success. So as a team, it's important to be prepared and use the right techniques. What's often used are breathing exercises. For example, box breathing, as illustrated by Wim Hof in his breathing exercise that you can find on YouTube. It's often used to calm down the mind and make people present. Even Navy SEALs, these are famous soldiers, use this technique to remove the stressors from life and focus on the current situation. And all of these can help people to make sure that they don't get overwhelmed by signals or stimulus and that they can focus on the main points. Because people can clamp up under pressure if they don't know what to do. And obviously, controlling your breath is a very powerful way to remain control of a challenging situation. So once there's a setback, you can reframe it as something that you can learn from instead of seeing it as a very negative thing. Just taking a growth mindset and try to see how you can bounce back from it instead of being negative for a long period of time. We can look into what firefighters do there, and they often prepare for difficult situations by training for it. So they have several training days where they have to deal with worst case scenarios and see how they can fix it, and several drills and simulations are used to do this. And just testing people mentally and see how they react to setbacks. And often this can only be done with exercises and drills. Another group that has a lot of pressure to deal with is astronauts, and they rely on clear communication and shared goals to stay resilient in challenging environments. You can also see that astronauts practice a lot. So every time there's a spacewalk, they spend a lot of time on Earth, like mimicking every single move. So they're prepared for everything. And if something goes wrong, they don't have to panic because they have trained for it. They know what to have to do step by step. And they can always ask for feedback on Earth if necessary. If you want to see more about this, I recommend checking out the movie Apollo 13, clearly showing how calm astronauts remain when things go wrong and how focused they remain on trying to find a solution without panicking or without just wasting time on dealing with emotions. So some exercises that can help your team with resilience are trust building exercises such as blindfolded challenges, and you can also challenge people to help each other while they can't see or hear anything. Obviously, it's important to do this in a safe way and check with your local laws and regulations that everything is compliant. There are also several problem-solving games that you can find on Google. For example, there's a famous game where you have to build a tower with very few items, and the goal is to think together as a team and to build a tower. Another exercise is shared experience, where people have to perform an exercise to deepen their trust and creativity. For example, some companies challenge their employees to create a pizza with very unusual recipes or very unusual ingredients. For example, they get an unusual ingredient such as honey, and then people have to find a way to make a pizza out of it. Or it's like a combination of ingredients that they have to use creatively to come up with something. And these unexpected situations can help a team to grow and find new way or new answers. Another shared experience is building something together. For example, people get a few parts, and then they can use that to build a life raft or to build a cart. And it can be a real puzzle to get it done. You can also play city games where people have to walk around in a city, solve puzzles, and try to find a way to make sure that the goals are achieved. Escape rooms with a time element are often also a great way to build a connection. So there are several things, but if we have to really focus on real life challenges, because people have to be prepared for the things they're going to face. So it can be a great idea to create a crisis situation, and people have to work with real life examples so that they can apply their skills to your sector and your possible solution. In software IT, it's called the chaos monkey approach, where random things are programmed to go wrong, and then they see how the engineers react to that. So you can also send a random scenario to people, and they have to figure it out. And this helps them better because it's based on the real challenges that they will also face during their work, instead of other challenges that are unrelated to the job itself. During challenging situations, it's also important to keep communication clear and concise. People can often miscommunicate or make mistakes under stress, so it has to be practiced that people have clear ways to send messages, and firefighters use a specific model to make sure that there are no misunderstandings and everything is coordinated clearly. And this is done by using very specific words and terms to avoid misunderstandings. And there is also someone who is making sure that everyone is on the same page and it's clear what is expected of them. As you know, firefighters have to deal with rapidly changing situations, so they also have certain code words to adapt to things, so they can react without having to discuss what's going on. So it's also important to bounce back from problems, because as you know, in our current situation, not everything is predictable. And at the moment itself, you shouldn't place blame on people, but try to find a solution and see how you can solve the problem. Otherwise, people can waste a lot of time and energy on being emotional and just being angry at the person that made a mistake. And that's just wasting valuable resources. And Navy SEALs use visualization and mindfulness to just focus on finding a solution instead of passing blame along. It's also important to celebrate small wins when you want to make your team more resilient. If they found a creative solution, appreciate their efforts and show that you find it important. You can also incorporate daily reminders to this, so to encourage people to find creative solutions to problems and to make sure that they are focused on working together and there are no cliques or people are not trying to problem solve on their own, but they're trying to involve each other and evolve as a team. So as an example, I can give a failed project where people have to find a rapid solution under pressure and communicate effectively. As you know, projects often can take several weeks or months, and if things don't work out, it can be quite painful. While it's always necessary to analyze what has gone wrong, it's also important to keep the end goal in mind and try to find creative ways to achieve the end goal or complete the projects in different ways. It's also important to remember that often the same problem has occurred in the past, so you can try to figure out how it has been solved in your company before. Often there are people who are very experienced that you can tap into, or there are some company resources that you can look at, so you can repurpose the same solutions that you have used before without having to reinvent the wheel. So when you're trying to be more resilient as a team, it's important to check in with each other. If people are very stressed, you can try to ensure that they get a breather, get a moment to relax, and make sure that the overall team morale is positive and people are trying to find solutions to the challenge. Once people have found creative ways to find a solution, it's also important that they share this. You can use a whiteboard in the office to do this, so everyone can adjust to it and copy the same solution that has worked for someone else. An example I can give is when a call center gets overwhelmed because there's a problem with software. You can find the solution as soon as possible and then share this with the rest of the team so it gets communicated to customers as soon as possible. Maybe you can also add this to the autoresponder so people get helped faster and you don't get that many calls or you don't get overwhelmed anymore. Emotional intelligence is also important when it comes to resilience because it helps your team to reduce conflict and to collaborate more effectively. Example of EQ exercises are trying to read each other's body language, trying to dissolve problems without a lot of conflict. And active listening is an important aspect of this. Active listening is just trying to go to the root cause by asking questions, by asking people to clarify their points and just asking if you understand them correctly. And all of these things make sure that there are no misunderstandings and everyone is on the same page. So what is the role of the leaders in this? Well, you have to lead by example. So when the leader is panicking, the rest of the team will also notice this. So focus on your body language, stand straight, remain calm, have a smile, retain your eye contact, and don't panic. Because if the leader is panicking, the rest of the team will also start to doubt themselves. And this can be quite challenging, but leaders should develop this skill over time. You can go into challenging situations, for example, attending a kickboxing class or going for a challenging hike to develop this skill as well. There are also experiments with virtual reality where people are pushed inside or towards challenging situations, and this can help their brain adapt to it. And there's also an element of just mere exposure. If you get exposed to a lot of challenging situations, eventually you will get calmer and you will be able to deal with it more easily. So as a leader, you should think about how you can expose yourself to challenging situations and see how you react. Write down what you did well, what you didn't do well, and just push yourself in challenging situations. Just remaining present is very important during challenging situations. One of the techniques that's often used is to try to feel the sensations in your feet, because this can help you to remain present. You can also try to widen your field of view, because this will also calm down your mind and your brain. So try to make your gaze as wide as possible and see in your try to expand your field of view as wide as possible, because this is also proven to calm down your mind. It's also important to be proactive when it comes to challenging situations. If people notice that something could become a problem, it's important that they have plans and contingency solutions for this, and they know in advance how they're going to react by using checklists and by being proactive and anticipating on what can go wrong. As I mentioned before, during the problem itself, you shouldn't shift blame, but once the problem has been solved, you should try to find the root causes and make sure that it doesn't happen again. And this can involve training someone or making sure that the procedures are tightened up and so on. So being accountable for your own actions, having clear expectation, and encouraging agency and ownership should be a part of your company culture, where people don't shift blame but try to find a solution and everyone is working towards a common goal. This can be done by praising people when they do a good job and also encouraging them to focus on the company's goals and where things are going. And everyone should have a clear view of what needs to happen and when it needs to happen, so there are no misunderstandings, and everyone has to have a clear role in this as well. So you can also try to use positive reinforcement, where you encourage certain types of behaviors, and this can be done by giving a bonus or by giving just props, positive encouragement, saying people did a great job. You can also, for example, create a team member of the week challenge, where people have to compete to be the most valuable team member. So not every reward has to be monetary. Status and compliments are also a great way to keep everyone motivated and positive. So each team is unique and your situation can be different than everyone else's, but it's also important to have the supplies necessary at home or in the office. For example, a whiteboard is always handy. It's always handy to have backup drinks, to have foods, to have snacks, to have chargers, to have pens and papers available. Just if you have to create a war room or a situational room, it's done very easily and everyone can just pick out the supplies and the room can be set up immediately, where people can work on the problem without having to figure out where to order foods or how to find drinks or just find random supplies. So make sure that there's like a box or toolkits and a clear location available. And if things go wrong, everyone can go to that location, pick out the goods, and they can attack the problem from different angles without having to think about where everything is located. So when it comes to managing uncertainty, we have to sometimes accept that it's a process of trial and error. Sometimes you have to try a lot of things before we find something that sticks. And we have to retain a positive mindset and a flexible mindset. So we shouldn't get stuck on one solution, but try to find other ways and remain positive when things don't work out immediately. So in terms of applying mental toughness when things don't work out immediately, well, here positive self-talk is important. If you notice that people start to be negative, they should be corrected immediately because negativity can spread very fast. Especially if people are tired, it can be challenging to remain optimistic, but make sure that everyone is focused on finding the solution and remove as many stress points as possible, and try to ensure that people know that it might take several tries, but eventually you'll get there without any doubt. It's also important to create clear goals. So the manager or the leaders of the team should make clear what needs to be achieved to resolve the situation. There should be a clear time frame, and the team should be able to communicate clearly. It's also important in international context or cross-cultural contexts that people have an understanding of how people interpret certain words or actions. So, for example, in certain cultures, it's better to or accepted to be direct, whereas in other cultures you have to be more indirect. So, study how you can communicate with other people in the most efficient way, and study different cultures and subcultures to make sure that people don't get hurt or insulted while you don't mean that do that. And remote teams add another layer of complexity because obviously people can be distracted at home. Try to find digital tools that everyone enjoys using. For example, Trello or Asana allow you to keep everyone on the same page. Obviously, there are group communication tools such as Zoom, Teams that can help do this as well. Finding solutions when the team is remote can be more challenging, but we have to make sure that everyone is able to contribute to the team. So in a remote setting, this can involve more small talk or more one-on-one sessions as well, or smaller groups, but eventually everyone should be kept in the loop. So it can be finding a challenge between teams of experts working together, but also keeping everyone on the same page. You can also check on people. If you notice that they're stressed, you can suggest that they take a break or go for a meditation session, go for a run, and so on. So body language is essential if you want to manage remote teams. So look at how they react to the information, if they look tired, if they look happy or not, and keep this in mind, especially if people seem to be distressed over a longer period of time. It might be necessary to have a talk with them to see what's going on. Because with a remote team, it's often difficult to have small talk or to know what's going on in their life. So ensure that you have procedures to monitor this as well. This can involve a weekly survey, where people indicate their happiness levels or their barriers that they're currently facing. So it's mentioned before, there are some tools for team well-being, and this includes surveys where you can ask them about their mental or emotional health. There are also some tracking tools that allow you to see how many times people reply, how long it takes them to reply, and if you notice trend there where people take longer and longer to reply to messages, or you're noticing that they're not up to par, you can have a one-on-one meeting to see what's going on. So there are a lot of metrics that you can use to monitor your team as well. There are obviously certain barriers. For example, you can't look at their personal smartwatch data, but there's some tools that allow you to track the performance of your team in other ways, or more directly related to their output on the job. What is really interesting is also improv exercises, where people are challenged to come up with original ideas. So we suggest that you organize an improv workshop or a dance workshop where people have to move or have to react to changing situations, and this can really spark that creativity in their minds and show them that it's possible to approach a solution or a problem from different angles. So try to increase the creativity of your team with these exercises, just a lot of options can be found online, and people, for example, have to imagine that they landed on another planet and they only have 2 days of food, and then they have to find a creative solution and present this to the team and just talk about it for 2 minutes. And this can involve a lot of humor, but it just pushes people to think harder about the problem and to find other ways to come up to the end results. It's also possible that you use a peer support system where you mentor people that are not used to dealing with challenging situations, and this can help them to evolve their skills on a more personal level. If you notice that people are having a hard time dealing with stress, you can point them at some of the exercises such as breath work, meditation, and also exercise or improv that can help people to contextualize problems and see it in a wider perspective. And as I mentioned before, it's also a skill that has to be trained over time. So people might buckle under stress at first, but after a while they might be able to deal with it better and better through exposure and by dealing with it. A big part of dealing with problems is also reframing it. So instead of seeing it as a big problem, you see it as a challenge or something that allows you to grow, or just pushes you to be better. And remaining this optimistic framework can really help move things forward. Whereas if people start to complain or see it as something annoying or negative, you'll just waste a lot of time and energy on this. A few exercises that can be done is being grateful for the things that went right. So this will make people focus on the things that went right instead of taking the easier route of being negative and focusing on what went wrong. So a team can be more grateful for the good things. So a lot about it is shifting the perspective towards positivity and keeping the end goal in mind and trying to find different solutions while not being negative and keeping the communications lines clear and open. So In some instances, you also need to work with other teams, so try to find the best approach to do this, so everyone shares the required information and knows what to do without playing political games amongst each other. So yeah, you can also try to find the root cause of the problem, and this will really help you to address things. Whereas otherwise, you're just guessing what's going on. And if there's a lot of crisis, you can see the patterns and try to, figure out the root cause of it. Some companies also focus on self-care and mental health because they want to make sure that people are mentally recharged after a long day of work. And you can, for example, discuss digital detox, or you can help people with finding a hobby or focus on physical activity so people are able to endure challenging situations for a long period of time. And obviously, celebration is always fun. Bring a cake if the team solves something, or invite them to a restaurant or a cool activity so people feel validated and encouraged to bring their best self to the workplace. So, as a conclusion, we mentioned different techniques that will help your team to be more resilient, and a lot of it comes down to reframing problems to something that will help them to grow, so something positive. Remaining clear communication, keep focusing on the goal instead of being negative and being emotional, and also making sure that everyone is on the same page and you try to find a solution together. And there are also several ways in which you can train people for this by preparing them for these challenging situations, and afterwards you also have to reward them with a compliment or a little thank you that can show them that you appreciate their efforts. We also looked into ways to improve creativity, such as improv courses, such as exercises where people have to dance and find cool solutions for unique problems. We even discussed virtual reality, but at the end of the day, resilience is just a skill that has to be trained, and by being exposed to challenging situations, people will be able to grow and learn from that. So I wish you a wonderful day, and with that, I really believe that your team will improve.